at the 40. Look at that move. Look at Chase go. Oh, my goodness. What a gear.
He comes down to this in his car end zone. Intercepted.
McPherson. And Cincinnati is heading to the Super Bowl.
Cross here. Nixon's going to throw. Open man. Caught. Higgins touchdown.
Drives. Touchdown. Joe Burrow has his first rushing touchdown of the season.
Hooday, Bengal fans. He is Mon. I am Jake. This is the Bengals Pulse, the heartbeat of our Cincinnati Bengals. Mon, man, oh man, episode 71 is here, and it's going to be awesome. I cannot wait. This is going to be a great show.
It is. I brought out the hardware to celebrate. Look at the rings. This is for the guest. Let's get going. Let's get going
Because our guest today, I don't even think I need to introduce him. I will, though, because he is a Bengals legend. He has been covering the Bengals since the early 90s, over 30-plus years. Mon, he was named the 2021 Ohio Coast Sports Writer of the Year by the National Sports Media Association. He is now and has been since I can remember the senior writer for Bengals.com. He is a Cincinnati legend. Let's bring him on. A great friend of the Bengals Pulse, Geoff Butch Hobson. Geoff, thank you for coming on the show. It is awesome to see you, man.
Hey, Coach, thanks for such a nice welcome. I appreciate that. You guys got a great montage there to start it off. All fired up there. Vaughn Bell hit on Juju Smith-Schuster. That's got me going.
You like that. Geoff, listen, thanks for coming on again. This is your second time on the Bengals Pulse. The last time you were on was episode 6, and I just want to let you know that's our most watched, viewed episode ever. You're like we called you, you were the fifth Beatle. We said that. You're that big. And, I mean, you're up there with Taylor Swift. I mean, you are a rock star.
Well, thanks a lot. I mean, to be mentioned in the same breath with Billy Preston, because I think it's most Billy Preston was the fifth Beatle, right?
That's what they say. That's what they say. But we booted him off, and it's you.
We boot him off. No, it's Geoff Hobson.
I appreciate it, guys.
Man. Thanks for coming on the show. We know you're busy. We really appreciate your time. Let's get right into this thing, Geoff, because we got a lot to talk about, right? Quarterbacks, rookies showed up yesterday, and training camp right around the corner. And obviously, yesterday as well, you guys, the sports media, you guys had your mock turtle soup. Obviously, a lot of questions to ask. We will try to narrow them down because there's so many. First of all, though, the most important one, Geoff, do you eat the turtle soup? Is there actual turtle soup? What is going on with that?
Yeah, there is turtle soup, but I have no time to eat it. I was gone. I was after the interviews. I was left and gone. It's not like the old days where you had a 6 o'clock deadline.
Gotcha. Well, obviously, Geoff, there's a lot of news, and the biggest news being the contract extensions, right? And I'm sure you guys are probably tired of asking, just like Mon and I, every guest we have on, I feel like we ask them the same thing. But it is really the biggest news of the offseason because of the names, because of the direction that this organization is trying to go in. And we as fans, obviously, it's very important to us because we are in a place right now, like Mon always says, it's just a good time to be in Bengaldom. So let's ask you, I know word was there wasn't a lot really spoken yesterday, but any news on the contract extensions or is there anything going on maybe that you got a takeaway from?
No, not really. The only news really is that both sides are pretty buttoned down as far as talking. So I don't think you're going to see anything out in the public on either side. I know there was something on PFT like late last night, but I mean, I think this thing's, pretty buttoned down. Both sides are pretty serious about not saying anything. And you guys have been through this thing before. If it wasn't Carlos Dunlap, it was Geno Atkins. If it wasn't Geno Atkins, it was Andy Dalton. If it wasn't Andy Dalton, it was A.J. Green. And all those, before the opener, right? And I know that I think that's the goal anyway, to get Burrow done before the opener. And we've seen all kinds of dates on that. I think Carlos might have done his extension in the last week of July. Andy and Vontaze Burfict did it in like the first week in August. I think Geno did it like right after Labor Day. AJ Green did it before he stepped on the plane to go to Oakland for the regular season opener.
That's right.
So I just don't think I don't think you can really say when it's going to happen. They're trying to make it happen, and this is obviously the roster is so good. It's going to be one of the most expensive rosters in the league, and right now they're trying to piece the puzzle together. How do you how do you keep this great team together? Pretty simple.
Right.
But pretty simple. That's the goal, but it's pretty complicated.
Pretty complicated because, again, not only Joe Burrow, and obviously we all know Joe Burrow is going to get done. I really think that the big questions are the T. Higgins, the Logan Wilsons, are those guys that obviously the Bengals want back. And those guys have both made it very clear that they want back. Those, I think, are the real questions. But, Mon and I talked about it on our last show, the Joe Mixon contract renegotiation kind of maybe being that first domino that leads to Joe Burrow, and then maybe that Joe Burrow domino leads to T. Higgins and Logan Wilson. But obviously, you got this team, like you said, Mon and I talk about all the time. This is the best roster, Geoff, that I can remember. I mean, I've been a fan for 42 years. I can't remember a roster in the last 40 years that has been this good. And it's hard to keep everybody.
You look back at last year. To me, the amazing thing about last year when they won 10 straight. Look at who they did it without during various stretches of that. Best nose tackle in the league, DJ Reader, didn't have him for about 6 weeks. They didn't have Josh Tupou as backup during that for some of that same stretch. They lost their number one cover. For most teams, losing their number one cover cornerback halfway through the season, Chidobe Awuzie, would have been devastating. But Cam Taylor-Britt stepped in and had a great rookie year. They survived. They survived that. They survived Mixon going down for a couple of games.
Yes,
their lead back. They look at what happened on their offensive line. I mean, already they lost a starter in each of the last 3 games, and of the regular season and the first game of the playoffs, and they still made it to the AFC Championship game. So it's what they survived on the way to win those 10 straight. I thought was really indicative of how deep their roster is.
Geoff, when Cheeto went down last year, I honestly had a meltdown. I thought that was going to be the death knell for the season because Cheeto was that good. But they went on to win 10 straight games. And I think my mustache had something to do with that also, because that's when I started growing the mustache, Jake.
Well, you're a first responder, so you're used to tight situations. So.
That's right. No, but seriously, when he was injured, I was like, that's it, we're done. But, Lou Anarumo found a way to get those guys ready to come in and play, and they played well. Geoff, I know you've been asked this question 50 plus times this offseason, but, going into training camp, there's a few battles. I mean, the roster is pretty set. The starters are set. Who do you see at right tackle? And give us your views on these young safeties, replacing Bell and Bates. Those guys knew that defense like the back of their hands, and they're young. I expect some growing pains there, but hopefully their athleticism sort of compensates for that. But what's your take on those 2 spots?
Yeah, well, I think at right tackle, I'll take right tackle first. I think, you can't really talk about LC yet because he's on PUP and we really don't know when he's going to be ready. You can assume he's not going to be ready for the opener because he had his surgery, so late in the season last year. It looks like Jonah Williams, even though, you look at the 2 lead guys have never played right tackle in the game, which is interesting. Jonah Williams and Jackson Common. And a guy who hasn't been talked about, and it's kind of curious why, because he has played. He actually started a season at right tackle, Cody Ford, when he was a rookie with the Bills. And he was they moved him and he became a guard, but he does have experience there. 2nd round pick. In fact, he was a guy the Bengals tried to trade up and get in that 2019 draft, and they couldn't make it work. But they thought highly about him for a while. But it looks to me like Jonah and Jackson, I guess, probably the leaders in the clubhouse just because of their experience. Jonah, 42 starts at left tackle. I think he's coming off a serious knee injury. He's ready. He's been cleared, so he's ready to go. And he's a very hard worker. I think that's pretty much accepted. I remember when he was a rookie and he missed his entire rookie year. The offensive line coach then, Jim Turner, said he was like a scout because he was so serious about looking ahead at the practice tape and everything and who they were going to play, the opponent they were going to play. He said he was like having a scout on the line. So he's going to do the work. He's going to do the homework, but he's never played right tackle before on this level. Last time he played, I think he was a freshman at Bama. Same thing with Jackson Carman. But I think these guys are good enough athletes that they can make that switch to that side. Those are the guys that I would keep an eye on, and I think Cody Ford, I would keep an interesting look at him too. Nobody's talking about him, but I don't know how many reps he's going to get either in practice. And flip it over to safety. It's tough. I was telling Mon, it's tough to lose Bell and Bates, maybe the best safety tandem in the league. They're so so smart, so instinctive. I mean, you saw Bell change the culture when he made that hit on Juju Smith-Schuster. He didn't change the culture, but he kind of set the tone late in that 2020 season. And Jesse, Jesse was made so many big plays. That tip that Bell made the interception in the AFC Championship game when they won it to go to LA. So obviously two very hard guys to replace, but I think, I feel pretty good about it, because I think Dax Hill, I think, is going to be, looks like to me like he's going to be a hell of a player. Great range, fast, smart, just needs the reps, He ended up playing nickel. He's got the most snaps he's played in any position has been nickel, because he had to, he stepped in for the one game when Mike Hilton went down. So, he's got the versatility. And then I think on the other end, they did a great job with picking up Nick Scott. Nick Scott's not Von Bell, but he's not chopped liver either. He's a Super Bowl starter. They couldn't get him out of the lineup in Los Angeles. He was a special teamer. He was a seventh rounder from Penn State. He worked his way up, and all he did was just make plays. When they put him in, smart guy, good guy. I mean, a guy dependable. Really a special team. He first emerged as a special teams guy, but then when they needed him to play down the stretch in the playoffs, he got a Super Bowl ring. So he's been around, and I think he'll be a great mentor to Jordan Battle. Jordan Battle might end up being the best pick out of this draft. He's certainly the most NFL ready. 55 games at Alabama. He's a big safety. He can run. But I think the big thing with him is they felt like they walked out of there talking to some of the coaches who have been around a while, like Darren Simmons, who sat in on many of those combine interviews up in Indianapolis, those 18-minute things, which are really what can you find out. But the one thing you can find out from those things is if a guy knows football, and Simmons circled Battle's name after they talked to him, man, this is a guy we love to have, because he just knows football. Son of a basketball coach from down in Florida. So I think the Scott Battle pairing is interesting, because I think at some point Battle's going to emerge, but I think he's going to learn a lot from Nick Scott.
Yeah, I've said on the show, I think, to me, Jordan Battle was my favorite pick of the draft. I think he's a guy that is going to get overlooked at first, but he could end up being, from this draft, one of the most impactful players that we see this year. I absolutely loved the pick. I know everybody was yelling for tight end, but to me, that safety position had to be addressed. I thought the Bengals did a great job addressing it. And real quick, Geoff, to your point with the offensive line, I think this is the deepest offensive line I can remember in Cincinnati, maybe since the 80s. I think this offensive line, when you have La'el Collins, whenever he comes back healthy, you have a guy like that coming off the bench, and Cody Ford, guys that have gotten a lot of reps, a lot of snaps, and have played a lot of football. man, I wish we could have had this offensive line the last 2 years. I think we'd be talking about multiple Super Bowl championships, but I'm excited to see how that all works itself out.
Yeah, I think I remember back in '09, they were deep enough to go when they lost their right tackle. They didn't have a right tackle. Andre Smith broke his foot. They had drafted him, and they were able to piece it together with Anthony Collins and Dennis Rowland. But since then, I think the big thing here, Coach, is that the revolving door has stopped. I think that this is going to be. I think that interior coming back for a second year is huge because I think those three guys in the interior, Teddy Karras at center, Alex Kappa at right guard, and Cordell Volson at left guard, a rookie who overcame a tough go against Cam Hayward on opening day in his first NFL start. He came back, and I'm sure made some all rookie teams. But this is the first time, knock on wood, everybody's healthy, gets through camp. This will be the first time since 2015 and 2016 that they've started the same center and two guys on back-to-back opening days. And I think that continuity in the middle is just as big as anything else. And obviously, the best left tackle since Whitworth in Orlando Brown. That's huge. That's huge. And like you said, I think the depth is quiet. They have quiet depth. I mean, Max Sharp, they were able to put him in the playoffs last year. Same guy who had already started 2 playoff games and 35 games in the league when they stuck him in. So he's back. Energy, has started. I think he started 7 playoff games, and he's in the mix at right tackle. So he's nobody ever talks about him. This is a guy who's got he's started at a couple different spots and some of the biggest games they've played. So I think they at least Brian Callahan was talking about this too, just as far as from a schematic standpoint. Best he's felt since this arrived in 2019. How about that unit?
Oh wow! Well, Geoff, Mon and I on the show, we talk about, we both don't feel like the other teams in the division, although this is the AFC North really is, I think, the best division in football. I think it's the toughest division in football. What I want to ask you though is, what are your thoughts? Do you think these teams in the AFC North, do you think they've done enough to catch the Bengals? Mon and I don't think so, but I would love to hear your thoughts on it.
Well, I think Baltimore's always dangerous with Lamar. If Lamar can stay healthy, you're going to have to go through them if Lamar is healthy. I think Pittsburgh's done plenty. I mean, they got Tomlin is a great coach. He's proven, and they've kept that defense together and added some pieces. I think Pickett is what they won 7 of the last 9, right? So Pickett there. So they're obviously for real. They're going to be hard to go through. So and Watson is I think Watson is a dangerous player, and for Cleveland. And Cleveland always they always roll out these hard-nosed defenses, and sometimes not sometimes, but there's always a team that's kind of a tough one for you. Hedge your number. It looks like Cleveland was after Burrow. He gets into that just sometimes that's just the way it is. You get those are tractor pulls. So I just see the division as I just think it's as tough as ever. Maybe Pittsburgh, maybe they're a year away, maybe I don't know. I think they showed at the end of last year. They're here now. Lamar's won an MVP and taken that team to the playoffs a couple times. So like I say, Cleveland with Garrett is I think is a factor. The big thing to me is it shows you how good the division is. There's no team has won the in years of playing the AFC North. No team's won 3 straight divisions. The Bengals can do it
until this year.
There you go. The division is man. The playoffs are almost a breather compared to the division.
It really is.
That's true. Geoff, listen, thank you so much for your time. I got one more question for you, okay? Ring of Honor, Chad and Boomer. I think the fans got it right. I want to ask you 2 questions. Give me your favorite Chad and Boomer memory, and also Do you think that the Bengals will ever open up voting to maybe former players, not just fans?
Former players, what do you mean by
former players to vote for Ring of Honor candidates?
Oh, I see. Yeah. I don't. I think it's evolving. I think that's the great thing about it. I think that it's only this is only the third class. So I think things are always looking at things and taking a look at how to improve it and how to get better. So I just don't think anything's written in stone there.
Right.
I guess my favorite. Chad story is I went down and visited him down in Florida to do a story on him before camp, and it was he was just all over the place, And I went to his grandmother's house. She was great. Where he grew up, the house where he grew up in, and tough part of Miami, Liberty City. Everybody was very nice. He went to his old fields to see some of the kids playing youth ball. And he actually took a bunch. I couldn't go in, but he actually took a bunch of guys, a bunch of cheerleaders, and some other players to play basketball with. He went to a prison. To check in with, do some work in there, which I thought was, you never really heard about him doing that. But I think he was a guy, he legitimately tried to give back. You don't hear that much about that, but I think he did. I think he does try to give back to where he grew up, and you don't hear that much about him doing that. But also, too, he put me up in a great hotel too, by the way, in Miami. So he was very good on that trip. And then Boomer, I guess, Boomer was always he was always great to the press, and he was always great to the beat guys. He just treated them fair. He didn't mind if you criticized them. It was just it had to be fair. You had to know what you were talking about, and he would test you. But I know my first year in the beat in 1990 for the Cincinnati Post, and that was the year the offensive line, that great offensive line that Jake referred to, was starting to get beat up. Joe Walter. It was the second year back from Joe's ACL tear, which I think they might have had two Hall of Famers if Joe hadn't got hurt. Joe was a hell of a right tackle. I don't even think he got named to a Pro Bowl, which is a disgrace. But he was on his way when he injured that knee. But anyway, he was back. But Bruce Reimer started. He broke his foot. Anthony was banged up, and I was writing, hey, is this line too old? And do they have to do they have to get some young blood in there? And the next day I went in, and Boomer, as dressed with the offensive line, because he always had this, he played quarterback with an offensive lineman's mentality, and so he wanted to make sure he knows that those guys, were his bread and butter. So they protected him on and off the field. They protected him, and so somebody had put up a drawing of me, complete with a bowl on my head, which would signify my haircut. I don't know. That might have been Jim Riggs. That might have been a tight end. I don't know. But anyway, Boomer would call me Hoff. He called me everything but Geoff. He would call me Hoff. He would call me Get Off. He would call me Geoff. And so this is, I get in there and I see him, and he goes, Geoff, you're in trouble with these guys. What is he talking about? And then I see the thing on the so we're too old, right? And I see this drawing, and they had put tape on, like tape, like yellow tape or whatever. Or I don't know if it was yellow tape, but it was tape, and it was like they were keeping the scene away from me, And I was informed I was on double secret Boomer probation, I guess. I couldn't talk to Boomer. I couldn't talk to anyone, but I couldn't talk to Boomer. Boomer, he didn't talk to me for a couple of days, which is when you're the beat guy covering the Bengals, and if you couldn't talk to Boomer every day, you were, that was not good. So, but that was everybody got over it. But that was the way it was back then. Was you putting your cards on the table, and people respect. You respected them, they respect you. And the thing was, you saw them every day. To talk to them. You weren't behind a computer screen or whatever it was. It was just a different deal. But that was my time on a double Boomer probation.
Oh, that's so funny.
That's hilarious.
Hey, Geoff, you're right about Joe Walters, man. That guy was he was so good. He was so good, and just never got the respect he deserved. That offensive line was so good.
It's one of the great stories Boomer tells us, and I think probably Kirk Strafford probably tells it, but Joe was supposed to – they were in Philadelphia, and he was going to play Reggie White. And Joe ended up, he couldn't play because his heart was racing and they couldn't play him. And so they had to play the rookie Kirk Scrafford against Reggie White. And this is, Boomer's told the story. So I don't think maybe Scraffy might have told it too. So I don't think I'm telling it out of school, but it's been told before. But, so the first snap of the game, Scrafford comes back to the huddle and tells Boomer, I can't block him. Boomer goes, what do you mean I can't block him? You can't block him. He goes, I'm telling you, I can't block him. I just want to let you know. Right? So next play, of course, is a pass. They go back. And the next thing you know, Boomer's like lying flat on the ground, and Scrafford is on top of him. And Reggie White's on top of them both. And like Boomer's helmet's like, all wrapped up, and his nose was Scrafford. And Scrafford says, "Told you."
I think Scrafford weighed like 260, didn't he? He's from Montana.
Yeah, he did.
Correct?
He did, and he was a good player. He was a good athlete too. They from Montana. I think he was a undrafted free agent. He was a good. He was. I mean, if he had been a little bigger, but he scrapped it out. He was a good guy, smart guy, classic Jimmy McNally offensive lineman.
Yeah.
But that was a tough one for a rookie.
God, I'll tell you what, the Cincinnati Bengals hit it out of the park, getting 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th round picks and turned them into great offensive linemen. Unbelievable. And
great coaching. To me, in this league, the NFL is a coaches league. And that look at those 80s. I mean, Sam White and Bruce Coslet, both offensive really geniuses. And Jimmy McNally, the best offensive line coach of his era. I mean, a guru. On the other side, you had Dick LeBeau, who was drawing up defenses that were, seen as wacky back then, but they used them. The zone blitz became a staple of football.
Yes.
And I think you got to look at these guys today with Zach Taylor and Brian Callahan and what Lou Anarumo was doing on defense. I mean, we could talk about these players all you want, but these coaches have done a hell of a job. I don't want to hear somebody saying, "Well, look at Zach Taylor, he's got Joe Burrow." Well, believe me, there are plenty of coaches who have screwed up talented guys. And Burrow has keeps getting better under Zach. I think it's helped that there's been continuity there with Zach and Callahan and Dan Pitcher. That's unheard of. Same head coach, same offensive coordinator, same quarterback coach for 5 years. I mean, that's huge. And look at what Lou's doing there over. I guess he got his doctorate. He got his doctorate from Wagner, so we can't call him the mad scientist anymore. He's Dr. Lou. So well earned.
Well, and I think that's something too that's kind of overlooked in this whole thing is this Bengals roster is incredible, but like you said, Geoff, we got our entire coaching staff back, and I think this is the time, right? I mean, if not now, then when? I mean, this coaching staff is the consistency's there. Again, you mentioned the names, guys like Troy Walters and Dan Pitcher. All those guys are coming back, and this roster is better than ever. So I don't know, man. I just think I'm excited. I don't want to overstep and be too optimistic, but this roster and this coaching staff and I don't know, the direction of this organization right now is nothing but roses.
I'm going to add to the rings. This year. Okay.
You got it, Mon. You're the ringmaster.
That's right. That's right.
But Geoff, thank you so much for coming on, man. It's always a pleasure. We will definitely have to catch back up with you. We know you're busy, and we look forward to talking to you again. Real quick, Geoff, where can I know Bengal fans know where you are, but where can they find you, Geoff? The ones that don't.
Yeah, Bengals.com and on Twitter. I'm not a big Twitter guy. Can we even call it Twitter anymore? I don't know. What's it called? I don't know. But I put my links out there. It's Geoff Hobson CIN on that's my Twitter handle, and then Bengals.com every day, all day. So I appreciate you guys. I appreciate your guys' support. Thank you very much. Stay safe out there, particularly Mon, who's doing the good work. So.
Thank you, Geoff. I appreciate it. Listen, we just can't thank you enough, and you stay cool out there. All right, this summer's crazy.
You too. You guys stay cool, and I look forward to talking to you soon. Who day?
All right, buddy.
Who day? Thanks, Geoff.
How great is that, man? He's so awesome.
Man. Oh, that story, that Boomer Esiason story, that's going to be one of my favorite. I'm going to laugh about that for weeks. I told you. That's so funny. I told you.
I can see Boomer, man, going like, "Hey, Geoff,
Yeah.
what the heck?"
Oh my God.
Oh Lord,
Good stuff. Good stuff. Well, one thing that we didn't ask him was Charlie Goldsmith tweeted out today, Mon, that the Bengals have this new Access TV show coming, something on the lines of Hard Knocks. I don't know. I'm very interested to see how this thing is going to look and who's producing it. But maybe we'll reach out to Charlie, see if we can get him on the show.
That would be great. Yeah, that's going to be really interesting. The Bengals have their little studio. It's probably going to be an in-house production. But, hey, I will never say no to Bengal content ever. And, Jake, I'm so excited. I mean, training camp is here. And, man, football season is back. I mean, it's officially back. I'm sick and tired of talking to Chiefs fans on Twitter. I'm sick and tired of talking to Browns fans on Twitter. Let's just settle it on the field, all right?
I will say this. Sarah Elise tweeted out, I guess this Browns fan, the Browns organization tweeted out Deshaun Watson throwing a football into a net, something that something that we do with our little league kids. And Sarah Elise, I got to give her credit. She tweeted back out, and I mean, I've laughed about it for 2 days. She tweeted back out, we all do that. And it's funny too, because she's 100% right. But we all do that at Kings Island. Usually we win a big toy. And the reason why I laugh about it is because I literally just won my son a Bengals football at King Island, doing the exact same thing Deshaun Watson was doing. So yeah, Browns fans are just absolutely hysterical, Mom. They are so delusional.
Yeah, they are. It's just there's one guy, he's just trolling. He's saying things. He wants us to respond. I'm not taking it anymore. I mean, their takes are just ridiculous. Yeah. The Cleveland Browns, since the Cincinnati Bengals entered the NFL, haven't done anything. Okay. Have we won Super Bowl championships? No, we haven't. But at least we have 3 AFC championship trophies. The Browns have 0 since we entered the league. All right. And they want to keep on calling us little brother, little brother. Well, little brother has a 52-47 record against the Browns. So, you know what? Let him chirp.
I mean, winning Super Bowls and stuff, I mean, that's the goal. That's the point, right? That's the goal of this whole thing. But at the same time, Browns, just win your division, right? I mean, win some kind of championship, because you haven't won any championships of any kind. Division, AFC. I mean, just win one championship and then come on over and talk to us. We'll hear you out. But yeah, I think they're absolutely the whole thing is ridiculous. And again, I love that we have them opening weekend in Cleveland, and that all the talking's going to be over. It's going to be time to strap it up and take care of business in Cleveland. And I love this Bengals schedule. I love the way that it's constructed, and I love the fact that we start off with Cleveland and Baltimore. I know some people might not, but man, oh man, you go 2-0 in the division, in the AFC, and you are going to be in very good shape the rest of the way.
Yeah, it's definitely be a massive test. It's going to set the tone for the year, but it's a long grind, Jake. We started off 0-2 last year.
Yep.
We were down, but the Bengals finished on a streak. And hey, if we lose a couple games early, it's not the end of the world. I don't expect that to happen. The season's a long grind. 17 games is a you can make up a lot of ground if you have some hiccups. And
absolutely.
It's right around the corner. It's right around the corner. And you know what? I wish we would have asked Geoff. I know he didn't have a lot of time, but I wanted to ask him. You brought up a good question before we started recording about the Reds and the Brewers. We wanted to ask him a baseball question because Geoff Hobson is a baseball guy, but we need the Reds to show up.
We are 2-9 right now versus the Milwaukee Brewers. 2-9, Mon. I'm pretty sure out of those 9 losses, maybe 5, maybe 6 of those are by 1 run. You got to win those games. I mean, you have got to win those games. That you have one team standing in your way, and we know this very well, right? I mean, all those years the Bengals could not beat the Pittsburgh Steelers. I mean, it didn't matter how good we were. It didn't matter how bad they were. It didn't matter. The Bengals could not get it done. And now David Bell has got this. He's got this Milwaukee Brewer situation where they are just a thorn in our side. It's sports is crazy, right? You sweep, you go out and you sweep the Arizona Diamondbacks, who is a much better team than the Milwaukee Brewers.
They're a top 10 team in baseball, top 10 easy.
Oh yeah, and
Yeah.
you cannot beat this team in your division. It's just unbelievable. It's crazy, Mom.
It's you just said it. Sports is crazy. I mean, like last night, Will Benson gets called out on a horrible strike. The umpire was all over the place.
Oh,
Called
they have
out
been all
strike
year.
three.
They have been
Yeah.
all year.
He should have. It was a full count. He should have been on base because it was a horrible pitch to call a strike. Next batter hits a home run. Well, it was Ellie De La Cruz. He hit a 2-run shot. Well, it should have been a 3-run shot because Benson should have been on base.
Yeah.
Just little things like that. I mean, the Reds. I don't know. Hey, they still got 55, 60 plus games. Baseball is so different from any other sport. 162 games over like 190 days. It's a true grind. So, you have a 10-game losing streak. It's not the end of the season. Not that the Reds have, but you have plenty of time to recoup and chip away. So hopefully they win tonight and regain the lead in that division. And we'll see. We'll see how it shakes out. They're fun to watch. It's a fun time to be a Cincinnati sports fan.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, with the Reds and FC Cincinnati and obviously the Bengals season right around the corner. I mean, all 3 of those teams right now really just loaded with young talent that are just incredibly fun to watch. And it is. It's an incredible scene. All I know is this: I've been to 2 Milwaukee games this year in Cincinnati. And the Reds have lost both of them. I am not going to any more. I know we don't play them anymore for the regular season after these next 2 days, but thank God, because those are the only 2 games I've been to this year that the Reds have lost. And one of them we got one hit. Is like that Major League Bob Uecker. One hit. Yeah. That's all we got. One damn hit. But again, real quick, back to the Bengals, Mon. One more thing we need to talk about is these renovations and these extra things, these fan driven additions to Paycor Stadium, Mon. Very exciting stuff. You and I kind of looked at it before we went on air today, and I just I think this organization, they're just making all the right moves now. I mean, it's just a complete different direction that we've ever seen in the past, and all these new renovations and all these new extra fan-driven things that the Bengals are doing. It's just incredible for this organization, incredible for the fan base, and again, it's exciting stuff. I cannot wait to be there against the Baltimore Ravens and get a chance to see all this new stuff that's being added.
Yeah, good for the Bengals. They want to improve the fan experience. They spent $20 million out of their own pocket. And watching the video, the press conference, looks like they really did one heck of a job to make it, to improve the fan experience there. Remember last year they had that survey and the Bengals got some lower marks on some of the amenities and everything. So they're trying, they're definitely trying to improve it. And like we said, you said it with Hobson, this is like the golden age of Bengal football. And the Bengals know that. And they want the fans engaged. And the fans are engaged, sold out season tickets, wait lists. And, the Bengals appreciate that. And that's why they're spending that money to try to help out the fans, make it easier for them to get the snacks and drinks, whatever they need, and get back in there and watch that football game.
Well, and obviously, once the Joe Burrow contract situation hits, it's going to be huge news. And, you kind of mentioned too. We talked a little bit about the Ring of Honor. We really haven't got a chance to talk about that. I just want to throw it out there, and again, you know me, Mon. I'm not a guy that likes to say I'm right. I do not like ever saying that. I feel like I need to because my two guys, Boomer Esiason and Chad Ochocinco, got voted into the Ring of Honor. The two guys that I proudly voted for, and I'm proud to say that. I think the two, again, such an incredible list of players. But I do think the fans got it right. I thought they got the whole thing right. But I am going to say this, that we've talked about this on the show as well. I would love to see maybe adding a couple players to it next year. I would love to see 4 guys go in, and I think if that's done, then you kind of catch back up to where you need to be. But any thoughts about real quick about Boomer and Chad?
No, I give you credit for that. I don't have any problem with them getting in. I wanted Parrish, some of the older guys. I want them to be able to. I'm not trying to sound negative here. They're older. I want them to.
Yes,
I want them to be alive when they get inducted into this Ring of Honor. Hobson did mention that it's evolving. So that tells me that the management of the Cincinnati Bengals are looking at other ways to get, maybe adding players or adding more players yearly, or having the players be eligible to vote and put their input also, like 50% fans, 50% former players, and then they come up with the Ring of Honor. We'll see. Listen, they're not trying to be negative. Boomer and Chad, you know what they both have in common? They were more than regional stars. They were national NFL stars.
Yes.
I mean, they both had national commercials, and the Bengals haven't had many of those in their career. They really haven't.
Yeah, and during that time frame, I mean, they put the Bengals on the map. I mean, let's be honest. I mean, Boomer Esiason in his tenure in Cincinnati, he made the Bengals fun. He really did. Yeah. I mean, obviously, Kenny and all those guys, they were the founders, right? They were the founders. But Boomer, he kind of brought the Bengals into the spotlight, and then obviously, there was that. We don't talk about it on this show, but there was the Dark Ages, right? And Chad really brought the Bengals out of the dark ages and put them back into the spotlight, made them fun again. You're right. Sure. I mean, both of those guys have that one thing in common. And let's not forget, Boomer won an MVP, Chad won receiving titles. Listen, I'll say it to this day. If Chad doesn't get hurt, we're talking about Chad in the Hall of Fame, not the Ring of Honor. We're talking about him in the NFL Hall of Fame. He was that good.
Jake, I'm going on my 40th year of living in Florida, and every once in a while you'd see a Bengal jersey. Well, actually, the town I live in, I did see some Collinsworth jerseys because Collinsworth went to high school down here. Yeah. But Chad Johnson jerseys were all over the place when he was drafted. You saw Chad Johnson jerseys at the mall. He was more than a regional football player. He had a national outreach, and it was just, he was infectious. And it wasn't just that. He was easily one of the best top 2-3 wide receivers in football for about 6 years. He had a little bit of a donut towards the end of his career. I think if he'd had a couple more 1,000-yard seasons, he'd be a no-brainer Hall of Famer. No-brainer.
No, absolutely.
And, hey, man, you know what? They got it right, and congratulations to them.
And how good was it to see yesterday the rookies take the field with the quarterbacks, Joe Burrow again? I mean, how lucky are we? How lucky are we to have Joe Burrow on? I mean, really, honestly, we all talk about it. All the podcasts out there, all the Bengal podcasts, and all the fans, and we all talk about it all the time. But how lucky are we to have Joe Burrow? I mean, the guy is he is the epitome of what you want in your quarterback, right? I mean, you can't even draw it up better than Joe Burrow. The guy is in between a contract situation, and he shows up for rookie camp. I mean, he's just different, right? I mean, it's unbelievable.
Yeah, he is. We've said it 100 times. He's an accurate passer, very good athlete. He's a great quarterback, but he's just a natural leader. His leadership qualities, his intangibles, he makes the players around him better. He's just got this drive. He's got, Peyton Manning. I'm not saying he's Peyton Manning, but Peyton Manning had this thing like, he demanded his players,
Tom Brady, right?
Yeah, Tom Brady, all of them.
Those elite guys.
Joe Burrow has that. He has that intangible. He may not be as fiery in your face yelling at the players on the field, but I can guarantee you behind closed doors, they know like, hey man, we can't let Joe down. Let's spend an extra 20 minutes studying this playbook. Let's spend an extra 20 minutes out on the field catching balls. And that's all from Joe Burrow. Natural leadership skills, his football intelligence. Everybody said this. He knows exactly what he needs to do. He's a football savant, man. We just got to keep him healthy. We're going to get some Super Bowl trophies. It's that simple.
Yeah, it's
that simple. Yeah.
All right, Bengal fans, that is another edition of the Bengals Pulse. If you like this podcast, make sure you like, share, and subscribe to this podcast. Make sure you check us out on all the awesome podcast platforms, Apple, Stitcher, and Spotify. As always, if you like this podcast, make sure you give Mon and I that 5-star review. We very much appreciate that. Follow Mon at the Fire Mon on Twitter. Follow me at Coach Jake Owens 9 on Twitter. Follow the Bengals Pulse on Twitter at Bengals_Pulse 9 on Instagram. The same without the at Bengals_Pulse 9. And as always, check out all the awesome podcasts right here on the Wincinnati Podcast Network. Mon, really quick, let's give it up for Geoff, the Butch Hobson. Geoff, thank you so much for coming on the show. Look forward to catching up with Geoff, hopefully sometime during the season. He is a class act, one of the best to do it, right? I mean, he is one of the best. He is a Cincinnati legend. Thank you, Geoff, for coming on the show. All right, he is Mon. I am Jake. This is the Bengals Pulse. Hoo day, Bengal fans. We will see you next week.
See ya.